And now, around the world and around the corner, it's the David Bowers Awards, bringing the best in indie music to millions of listeners worldwide with your host, the David Bowers. We've got a fantastic lineup of guests, as well as our engineer extraordinaire, Nick the Geek, our entire crew here at the Asylum, and me. I'm John Bon Jovial. And now, here's the voice of indie music, the David Bowers.
Thank you very much there, John Bon Jovial. Welcome aboard, everyone around the world and our listeners in Rochester, New York, who pick us up through the courtesy of WRFZ FM 106.3 Rochester Free Radio. And that brings up an interesting point. Since John Bon Jovial was unable to be with us today, we have called upon an old friend, another old radio friend of ours, who just happens to be affiliated with Rochester Free Radio, our old friend Jeff Moulton. Jeff, are you with us?
Oh, Dave, it's great to be here with you today.
It's great to have you here with us, too, as we broadcast indie music around the world. We'll chat in just a minute, but first, I want to get right to our first song, because this is a group that we've had on, once or twice before, a really neat group. They do some great stuff, and this is a brand new release they just sent us, so we can be one of the first people in the world to play it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a group called the Ivory Tower Project, and their brand new release called Please Tell Me.
I heard you were leaving. Please tell me it ain't so. Coming back.
Hey, we're two Steel Girls, and you're listening to the David Bowers Awards on Blog Talk Radio.
Please tell me, that's the Ivory Tower Project right here on the David Bowers Awards, where we are, well, as you know, we're the show that's always an award show. Because there are so many, we figured, why not make everyone an award show? And the nice thing about that is it makes all of our guests award winners automatically, and you get to help us pick the awards, because if you have someone or something that you know of that's done something music-related extremely good or extremely dumb, whatever, let us know. Perhaps they'll be an award winner right here on our show. And we have this week's award is going to be a kind of a combination. We're going to have a combination of an award winner, a David Bowers Award winner, and a Rockstar 101. We're going to do that in just a minute. But first, a previous award winner who has joined us and will be sitting in for the legendary John Bon Jovial this week. My old friend Jeff Moulton from Rochester, New York, and WRFZ FM 106.3, better known as Rochester Free Radio. It is indeed a pleasure, Jeff, to have you sitting in with us today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, but I have to say, now my radio name that I use is the real Jeff Moulton. So does this make me the award-winning Jeff Moulton?
Well, I guess this would make you the award-winning real Jeff Moulton.
Okay, that works for me.
Well, as long as it works for you, that's the important thing. And for our listeners, Jeff and I, we go way back. I mean, we go back so far. I've tried to forget how far back it is, but Jeff, I met through a high school friend of mine. Actually, it wasn't just high school. We went through school together. Bill, I think, was a year ahead of me in high school, and it was an old friend of mine, Bill Jones from upstate New York, and through him, I met other members of his family, including his cousin, who happened to be Jeff Moulton, and his sister, and the whole family there. And we have been in contact off and on ever since. Jeff, you got into radio. Where did you get your start in radio?
First of all, I have to say, you're a couple years older than me, so I was coming out of diapers. I was coming out of diapers when we first met, and Elvis was coming in, and now I'm about ready to go back into diapers again. So that's how long we've known each other.
I know that feeling. And I should toss in also that when I got my first full-time gig at WTLB in Utica, New York, Jeff was one of my first listeners, and so we do go back a ways.
Well, Dave was, what I've learned since, a typical radio wannabe. When I was a little kid, Dave was a little older than me, and all he said, I want to be on the radio, I want to be on the radio, I want to be on the radio, I want to be on the radio. And which was very impressive to me, because at that time I was probably not even 8 years old, and rock and roll was coming in, American Bandstand was on, WTLB was the big radio station, and Dave ended up on the radio, and he was a big influence on me because I actually knew somebody that was on the radio, and I dug radio too. Even at that age, I listened to the radio. We listened to the countdown of the top 31 survey, and actually cared about what the number one song was that week, and the whole family in my house was like that. And I know my cousin Bill was fanatical about it, and you were fanatical about it, and that's how I was brought up, with Dave Bowers saying, I want to be in the radio, I want to be in the radio, I want to be in the radio.
Well, I got my start even before I got into radio. I hooked up with the group that sponsored the shows at the auditorium in Utica, the old Utica Memorial Auditorium, or the Odd as it's now known, and they gave me a heck of a deal. They really did. Gelati, LaBella, and Martinelli was the triumvirate that booked the shows in there. And I somehow managed to talk to somebody from there, and I managed, while I was still, I think, a sophomore in high school, I got a job with them. And such a deal they gave me.
And you got my sister backstage to meet a lot of these stars. You were a big shot.
I got to meet a lot of them myself, and I shared with my friends. The deal I got from them was I could sell tickets for them, and for every 10 tickets I sold, I got a free one. So that's how I was able to get my friends backstage. And we did. We had
I think my sister Donna told me that you got her backstage to see Bobby Rydell.
Yeah,
that was by.
That was one of the bigger ones because the show that he was on was an all-star show. I forget all the acts. It was Bobby Rydell, Johnny Tillotson was on the show, the Skyliners. It was one of the bigger shows. They had a lot of stars, and we got to meet and actually spend a few minutes with each of them. I know I got to hold Johnny Tillotson's guitar. He was taking a picture with a fan, and he turned to me and asked me if I would hold his guitar while he took the picture. And of course I said, "Hey, yeah, hold Johnny Tillotson's guitar." Darn right. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun over the years, and it is absolutely awesome to have friends that you've had for so long. It's just
I have
something
to tell
really
you,
special.
I've told you this story before, but they haven't heard it on air. You got a job at WTLB, which was a big top 40 station at the time, and you were doing 7 to midnight. I was in 7th grade at the time. To a 7th grader, what is the prime time to listen to the radio but 7 to midnight?
Absolutely.
You were on. So I went around New Hartford Central School telling everybody I knew Dave Bowers, and I was trying to impress people. Yeah, Dave Bowers is a friend of mine. And there was these twin sisters, the Holt sisters, that one of them said, "You don't know Dave Bowers. You're just stupid. You don't know Dave Bowers. You know, we're 7th grade." And I said, "I do know Dave Bowers. You don't know him." So she called you on the air that night and said, "There's this stupid kid going around school telling everybody he knows you and you're a personal friend." And you said, "Well, what's his name?" "You don't know him. He's just a stupid kid." "Well, what's his name?" And finally she told you, and you said, "Yes, I know Jeff Moulton. He's my best friend's little cousin. I know him very well." And she was like floored, and I give her credit. The next day, she came to school and told everybody that I did know you, and I was king for a day.
You were a big man on campus. Well,
yeah,
hey,
for one day of my life.
I'm happy to have been a part of your moment of glory. It really it makes it all worthwhile. You know, it's nice when you can do things for your friends. But we
do you remember?
Yes.
Another quick story. Do you remember the time when we met in Schenectady?
Yes, I do. You came down and applied for a job at a station I was working for, and as I recall, did not get it.
No, I did get it. I was there for a couple of weeks, but you, the program director, brought me into the studio, and the last time you had seen me, I was probably 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
I graduated from college. It was my first gig out of college, so he brings me into the control room and introduces me to Bill Edwards. And you're sitting behind the console, and I look at you and I go, "You're not Bill Edwards, you're Dave Bowers." And you jumped up out of your seat and you said, "How do you know me?" And I said, "I'm Jeff Moulton." And it floored you. You got up and you hugged me. You jumped up and you hugged me. You were so shocked. You know, I was 10 years older than the last time you had seen me. And we became very good friends. We connected all over again.
Yeah, reconnected all over again. It is, and it's great to reconnect with you right now. We're going to rock and roll. We have our first guest is waiting in the green room right now. And before we get there, I promised you we were going to have an award, and it was going to be a combination award and Rockstar 101, which is our recurring feature where we give tips on what it takes to be a star in the music business. And our award today, this week's The David Bowers Award, is coming up right now.